This is Great Day Houston, Hope After Harvey.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Great Day Houston, Hope After Harvey. We are here at the Houston Area Food Bank, which is the largest food bank in the country. And as you can imagine, the need here is so much greater than it has been before. So we'll tell you later on in the show how to access that need. If you need food, they can put it on your table for free. All right, so obviously Hurricane Harvey took a big financial toll on our community, but it also took a big emotional toll on so many people. They're dealing with all kinds of things. They're dealing with loss, they're grieving, trust issues, anxiety, money issues, living in close quarters, all those types of things that they're dealing with after going through such a tough situation. So today what we wanted to do was to talk to our therapists about how to get you through this moment in time. We have several of you who have written questions to us, and so you're looking for that therapeutic help, and we have it for you today, starting with Melinda Havard. She's at Second Baptist Counseling Center, and her background is in counseling and psychology. Dr. Ben Young, who's a pastor at Second Baptist Church, also has a PhD in organic leadership, and then Robert Hilliker with the Lovett Center. So let me first say thank you all very, very much for joining us this morning.
Sure. Thanks for
all
having
right,
us.
starting off with you, Melinda. What a blessing it is to have a church that can offer counseling services.
Absolutely. We feel so grateful that the church membership is willing to support us being there to serve our community.
Yeah, so lots of folks have faith, obviously,
That's right.
but what helps them work through this is having people there at the church who can guide them through. So tell us how those counseling services work.
We provide care to anyone who is willing to attend worship and Bible study. So you can be a member of our church, but you don't have to be. If you're willing to attend worship and Bible study, we want to build you a community or help you have a community of support. So we'll be there for you. And we primarily work with adults, but we also work with students and some children, depending on their ages.
And Ben, Second Baptist is no stranger to stepping up when there's a tragedy like this. I remember during Ike, your dad, Dr. Ed Young, got on the phone and said, Deborah, I've got imams, Catholic priests, Baptist ministers, rabbis. We have the entire faith-based community joining hands, no differences here, to help. And you did the same thing this time.
Yeah, we did. We have trained and sent out like 38,000 volunteers in the last several days. We've given out like over 80,000 meals. And we've helped clean around over 2,000 homes, and many homes are still waiting to be cleaned. So we've, over the years, since Hurricane Allison all the way to Katrina and Ike, and of course Harvey, we have just developed a system and an organization and infrastructure to go help people who are in need.
Yeah, and the infrastructure comes from your church membership. You realize you have folks who are, firefighters, you have people who are EMS or doctors or lawyers, whatever.
Yes, and what we did is, so every year after every disaster, we would go and meet and we would critique, what do we do? What can we do better? What do we need to not do? What do we need to start doing? And so now, even as the rain was coming down hard, we were already working to get our people, and we were able to mobilize thousands of people quickly. And that's because of, unfortunately, all the experience that we've had with different catastrophes here in Houston.
Yeah, all right. And Robert, the Lovett Center is a nice little gift in this city, if you will. So explain exactly what you all do.
Well, we're actually a community of helping professionals that now represents over 65 therapists. We specialize in children, in adolescents, in adults and older adults, and any number of things from substance use issues to depression, anxiety, couples and marital issues, anything like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we certainly know that when times are good, things are good, right? Mm-hmm. And then you add something like this on top of a marriage or on top of any type of relationship, and then the fractures show. And sometimes those fractures can be too much. So we have lots of folks who hit our Facebook page, and we're asking some questions. And I'm going to start with this one right here from Rachel, who says, my husband and I are fighting all the time since we flooded. How do I make things better for my children who are already feeling anxious? This is a tough time for a lot of folks.
So one thing I would really suggest for Rachel is to try to contain the times of anger. As the fog is lifting and people are coming out of their experiences and the trauma's hitting, people that could make decisions before, could make quick decisions, could interact better, are struggling now to do the things that they normally did. But our children need to see us coping. So we don't want to protect them completely from the struggle, because they have to learn from what we do. But we've got to step back and try to practice patience, as hard as it is. As hard as it is.
And it's a good point, because I think a lot of parents, we have a tendency to want to shield our kids as much as we can. This is going to be one of those things that becomes a life lesson.
For sure. And I think you acknowledge this is a very, very difficult time, a tough time but we're going to make it through it as a family and as a community. So you acknowledge, you validate their emotions and how they're feeling, but you also say, hey, we're going to make it through it.
Yeah. You also got to ask yourself, when you say we're fighting all the time, were you always fighting before Harvey? Because I think sometimes we think things are new. When
Right. So natural disasters and big stressors like this in one's life just amplify difficulties that were already present. So I think you're right that something like this is going to take a difficulty that was already existing in a family and probably amplify it. But I agree that the basic task is modeling as parents what it's like to negotiate adversity. Everybody's going to struggle, and this is and there are no real exceptions to struggle in a time like this. Even if your house wasn't flooded, there are increasing stressors all over the place. And I think this is a time for parents to really model how to negotiate adversity and difficult times.
We're looking at this video right here, and this is traumatic stuff. And I know, Robert, we've talked to you before about how many people were saying, I've got PTSD, I'm having nightmares about this. So PTSD is a whole
there's
diagnosis.
a whole set of diagnostic criteria that indicates what PTSD is. So what's important, and we talked about this before, the idea of differentiating between, most people will not have PTSD in a kind of diagnostic sense following a trauma like this. A handful of people will, but there are all sorts of factors of resiliency where people will respond effectively. It doesn't mean that they weren't traumatized, and that's really important. That having that diagnostic label does not give credence to your experience or not. If you don't meet criteria for that, you still can experience trauma and you still need support.
Yeah, I think what's kind of happened over the years when we talk about therapy and stuff, there's a pill for that. We've gotten away from really working our way as natural human beings through adversity, right? And there's always been a pill for that. So what lesson can we learn from this to get us through to the other side? And it may not feel comfortable, but it's good for character.
Right, and this is a long haul thing. This is weeks or months, and so families are going to be experiencing ebbs and flows as they go through the feelings that come in, and then they'll roll out and they'll think, man, we're great, we're ready, we're going forward, and then it rolls back in again, much like a flood coming in. You think it's over and then boom, it hits you again. And we have choices, and we can make choices, but sometimes we need support, and we can get that from our families, from our friends, from our churches, from our communities.
And when things are really overwhelming, Ben, a lot of times we'll question our faith. In good times, we have faith. God will take care of it. We'll be all right, right?
Sure.
But then when things get too tough, we question the faith.
Yeah, sure we do. And I think what's interesting within the Christian faith is that God gives us space to question. I mean, you look at the book of Psalms, you look at the book of Ecclesiastes, it's people that are trying to process trauma and catastrophe in their own life, and they're crying out to God, God, where are you? Why aren't you here?
And why does this happen to me?
Why is this happening to me? But then through that anguish and through that suffering and through verbalizing that, they're able to work through it and say, wow, God still is with us, and He's going to help bring us out of this ditch.
Yeah, and part of that help is, you mentioned all the volunteers who went out and started putting people's houses back together again. The cool thing is that many of those volunteers had houses that were damaged as well, but this is really therapeutic to reach out and help someone.
No, it really is. And again, I think we can learn a lot from the 12-step community in AA. Mm-hmm. It is called a recovery movement for a reason. And one of the things that keeps people sober, I think, in life, and also with 12 steps, is the 12 step, and that is helping others and reaching out and not focusing so much on your own emotions, your own pain, though you need to do that, but also reaching out and helping others in that same time period.
Kind of eases that pain. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of your questions after this.